Aloha and good morning, everyone. My name is Rob Hack. I'm from the Hawaii Pacific Export Council in Honolulu. We are a nonprofit, a district export council, DEC, often called, of which there are 61 around the United States, and we are one of them. And it is our goal to help Hawaii and Pacific Island exporters move their products to foreign countries. Just to be clear, an export is to a foreign country. An export is not from one island to another or even to the mainland, but it would be to Canada, to Mexico, to Japan, Europe, South America, etc. The Hawaii Pacific Export Council is made up of approximately 30 board members. All are appointed by the U.S. Commercial Service or the Department of Commerce head, the secretary. And we actually have a commercial service employee with us today, the sole commercial service staff in Honolulu, who'll be speaking shortly. The Hawaii Pacific Export Council is able to put on this series of webinars and perform one-on-one company mentoring because of a generous grant that we receive from DBET. And in turn, DBET receives some funds from SBA in Washington, D.C. every year as part of the STEP program. That's the State Trade Expansion Program. And in Hawaii, that's branded by DBET as High Step. But with that, I'd like to introduce Jamie Lum from DBET, who will have a few comments about the High Step program. Jamie, please.
Mahalo, Rob. Aloha and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today in this webinar. Excuse me. As Rob mentioned, I am Jamie Lum. I'm with the Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism, and we are the state agency or the administrator of the state's grant from the SBA for what we call the Hawaii State Trade Expansion Program, or High Step. Thank you. Rob has our website up right now, which is Invest.Hawaii.Gov, and you just go under the exporting tab to find information about High Step. I just want to give a little overview of the High Step program. As Rob already mentioned, through a grant that we received from the SBA, we're able to conduct this export development program for companies in Hawaii that are interested in exporting, and you can be new to exporting, or you can be a company that's already been exporting but looking to expand. So we are looking at a wide gamut of companies and the experience that you have in exporting. So it's open to all companies that are interested. You just have to meet some of the requirements for SBA, which is, you have to be a small business. You have to have been in business for at least a year, and you have to have a product or service that is at least 51% US made. And for Hawaii, we do also look at companies and see that you do meet the made in Hawaii standard as well, of at least 51% value added to your product, or that your service is from Hawaii sources. So we have several different components of our program of the High Step. Basically the three that you see listed there: the export readiness, our Hawaii pavilions, and our company assistance. So Rob already alluded to this webinar is part of what we call our export readiness, which consists of these webinars that we work with HPAC. And I should say that this program is conducted with many partners, many of which are on this call today, that help us guide companies. Rob mentioned not only the webinars, but the one-on-one business consultation that many of our partners offer. When companies register for the High Step program, we put you in touch with one of our partner organizations, and you'll have at least one session so you can talk a little bit about your export experience and your export goals. And our partner organizations will help to try to guide you a bit. Part of what we also want companies to be able to do through attending many of these webinars, and we do have two coming up, one in August and one in September on this very topic, is to have an export plan. We want companies to be able to at least give thought to what markets you want to go into, what markets are suitable for your product or your service, and to plot out just exactly how you want to get there. So that's all part of our export readiness. Our Hawaii pavilions are trade shows that we've selected that we think are useful for our Hawaii companies to participate in. We have two more events coming up in this calendar year. One is the Hankyu Hawaii Fair, which is coming up very shortly in Osaka, and the Tokyo International Gift Show in September. What we do is step funds are used to support companies. We pay for the booth space, and then we recruit companies to come and to exhibit under the banner of the Hawaii brand. So we're trying to make it affordable for companies to be able to participate in these large trade shows. And also there's a lot of value in being able to go in together as a group under the Hawaii banner. So hopefully that, companies will find this, as I said, affordable to be able to participate in these shows. We work with the Department of Agriculture, and the shows that they did have already passed, but we are actually in the process of waiting to see if we are awarded another year of funding. We should probably know in September. So we'll have another calendar of events for 2023 that companies can participate in. So that's our Hawaii pavilions. And then the last component is our company assistance and program. And this is where an export plan becomes very important. Companies can apply directly to us to get some funding to be able to support activities that are part of their export plan. So it's important, again, like I said, for companies to be able to really show what their plans are, that they've thought about the markets that they want to get into and how they want to go about it. And funds can be used, just to let you know, from the company assistance, can be used for a number of things. They can be used for trade show costs, and they don't have to be the trade shows that are selected for our Hawaii pavilions. In fact, we do like to see that companies are looking at other types of shows that they can be part of. It can be used for airfare. It can be used for things like shipping sample products. It can be used for product testing if your product needs to be certified to be able to be sold in a particular country. It can be used for programs like the Gold Key Service under the U.S. Commercial Service, which helps companies, and John will talk later, but their job is to help U.S. companies do business in whatever country that particular commercial service office is located. So those are just, and also I should mention, because this has been a big emphasis, funds can be used for your website. If you're looking to translate your website for a particular market, it can be used for to set up e-commerce, which has also been, with the pandemic and when travel was restricted and trade shows were not being held in person, e-commerce has become a really big component of, or a big way for companies to get their products out into the marketplace. So those are the types of expenses that can be used with step funds under the company assistance. So I know I've kind of rushed through it. We have a few other things actually that we're looking at that we've proposed, and if we're getting able to get more funding, and more in the areas of e-commerce and digital marketing. So I'm trying to help companies in that area as we go forward. But again, I encourage you to visit our website to sign up, submit a registration form. That doesn't obligate you to participate in anything. It's free, it doesn't cost you anything, but you will be put in touch with one of our partner organizations as a way to start. And so I do apologize, I can't stay on for the entire session, but if you have any questions, you can always send them to Rob. Rob knows how to reach me. Thank you very much again for joining us today. Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Jamie. That was a great overview. The High Step program is really fantastic, and I think that our companies in Hawaii benefit greatly from it. So thank you for all your hard work with that. This program today is great. I'm excited about it because it's really specific to Hawaii Island. We've been trying to do an island-specific event each year, and this year was Hawaii Island. And the goal of it is to introduce to Hawaii Island companies the resources that are available to help with exporting. And because it's Hawaii Island specific, there's going to be obviously some things that may not be relevant to other neighbor islands. However, I wanted to point you to our YouTube archive of the Hawaii Pacific Export Council, which has several years of recordings of these types of webinars. That not all of them are specific to islands, but they're specific to countries such as exporting to Hawaii, or they're specific to e-commerce or exporting of services, for example, finance, logistics, etc. So I encourage you to go back and look through this and see our vast archive here. And then I encourage you to join upcoming meetings and get on the mailing list so that you know when all of these webinars will be had. So as I alluded to earlier, the goal of this event is to introduce you to resources that are available. So we just introduced you to DBET, and now I'd like to start at the federal level and bring in John Holman from the U.S. Commercial Service in Honolulu. And John, just give me 1 second to bring up your presentation. Can you see it?
I can see it. Can you put it? There we go. Perfect.
Great. Please go ahead.
Yeah.
John.
Yeah. Aloha, everyone. John Holman here in Honolulu. And as Rob mentioned, I represent the United States Department of Commerce, and my agency within Commerce is called the U.S. Commercial Service. I run an office here in Honolulu that supports Hawaii companies across the state and the U.S. Pacific territories. So if you're interested in growing your business internationally, I sometimes ask people when we're in person, I'll say, raise your hand if you have an international office, if you have an office overseas. And hardly anyone raises their hand. And I say, well, you're wrong, because through our network, you have 240 offices worldwide in over 80 countries, most often at the U.S. embassies. And so we're your tax dollars at work at the federal level, helping businesses to grow internationally by selling their products and services. Got a couple quick slides here for you. I always like to share the 3 keys to export success. I've been helping Hawaii companies for going on 15 years. And the number one thing is motivation. I've seen companies with an average product but get out there, go to trade shows, really promote their business. And if they even if they have a kind of commodity product, they can find success in international markets. So motivation is key. And if you're here today getting this information, that's a really good sign. Number 2 is path of least resistance. What market can you get into in the shortest amount of time with the lowest cost, and then generate the greatest returns, and then reinvest that revenue stream and that experience into the next path of least resistance. So what is that path of least resistance for your business? Number 3, great partners. So finding partners on the other side, whether it's a distribution partner, whether it's a retail outlet, people that are going to represent your brand and your business in country, and will make sure that you get paid. Very important. So those are the 3 keys to export success. Next slide. So I'll share a few things about the U.S. Commercial Service, my agency. Next slide, please. Last year, for every dollar in taxpayer funding we received, we generated $360 in sales for US companies and international markets. So that's a pretty good return on investment, especially for a government agency. Next slide, please. Who we work with. So we have a requirement that you must be a US registered business, that your product or service is at least 51% US content by volume or value. If you're importing pianos from China and want to export those, that's fine. There's nothing illegal about that. We just can't use taxpayer funding to support that with our resources. So we need to see that 51% content. And then we also need to see that you're export ready. So you have some sort of export sale in process, you've received some leads, or you're going to a trade show, or you've gone to a trade show overseas. You've identified your path of least resistance, and you can do that through programs like this in the High Step program. And then you've taken advantage of some of the free training that's available so that you're ready to take the next step to grow your business internationally. Next slide, please. So the way we support companies, our resources kind of fall into these four main categories. So market intelligence or market research. This is real on the ground current information in terms of the opportunities for your business in countries around the world. We provide that. We also support trade events and matchmaking programs at major international events in the US and overseas. One trade event coming up next year, I want to just highlight for everyone. We put on an international event each year called Trade Winds, and it takes place in a different region of the world every year. Last year it was in Dubai. We don't have a lot of Hawaii companies interested in Dubai, but next year it's going to be in Bangkok, Thailand. So the US Commercial Service is putting on a major event there for US companies to connect with partners in Thailand. And we'll also have spin-off events to Singapore, the Philippines, Vietnam, and Indonesia. So if you're interested in any of those markets, definitely stay tuned for information on Trade Winds Asia 2023. That'll take place in March of 2023. International partners. So as Jamie alluded to, one of the things we do best is find pre-screened qualified partners for your business in the countries that you're targeting. One of the key resources we offer is something called the Gold Key Service for $950. Once we identify the market for you, we will contact partners that meet your criteria in terms of who you're looking for, whether it's the Whole Foods equivalent in Korea or a distribution partner in Canada. We'll tell them about your business and then assess who is most qualified and interested. And then we put you together through one-on-one meetings that we set up for you. So because we're the US government, it shakes out less legitimate partners on the other side, gives you credibility in their eyes. Another thing we do is we do background checks. So if you get contacted by someone overseas and they say, hey, we want to work with you, we can do a background check on that business, their legal standing, financial standing. Sometimes we even send someone from the embassy out to their place of business to verify if they're legitimate for you. And that saves a lot of companies a lot of headaches. And then consulting, advocacy. We want to make sure it's a level playing field for you when you're going international. And we also can answer all the questions you have, whether it's related to methods of payment, shipping, logistics, standards, customs documentation. No one knows all the answers. So that's why if you come to us, we can get those answers for you. Next slide. There's my contact details. Rob said to keep it short and sweet, so I'm doing that here. If you have follow-up questions, feel free to reach out. And just want to thank Rob for doing a great job with this program. Hawaii Pacific Export Council is an amazing organization with fantastic resources. Also, DBED is doing a great job with the High Step program. For those, I don't know if Jamie's still on, but across the whole United States, the STEP program is competitively awarded, and Hawaii has received more funds per capita. I believe it's second in the nation. And that's because DBED's been doing a really great job with the money and also providing resources like this for Hawaii companies. So I want to thank DBED for that and hand it back to you, Rob. Thanks.
Thanks so much, John. That was great. And I'd like to mirror what you said, that this is a fantastic organization that our companies in Hawaii should be utilizing. And John is your main window into the US Commercial Service. And I'll tell you a very brief story anecdotally. About a month ago, I contacted John and said that I'm going to the Philippines on behalf of a client who I represent in Asia. And do you can you connect me to somebody at the commercial service at the embassy in Manila? John got back to me very quickly with an introduction to a woman there who's a longtime employee of the commercial service. I went and met with her. She brought in some other subject matter experts in the technologies and industries that I was interested in meeting with. We had fantastic meetings, and they connected me with some people to talk to about that business throughout the Philippines. So that's just a very short and simple anecdote about what the U.S. commercial service can do, but it's extremely effective. And John is your primary contact for that. He's in Honolulu, in your time zone, in your area code, and I strongly suggest you get in touch with him to learn more about that organization and what it can do. And as Jamie mentioned, with that Gold Key service, the high step company assistance funding can support paying for that Gold Key service, which is incredibly useful. So thanks again, John, for all your hard work. Next, I'd like to introduce Mary Dale from SBA. As I said, the STEP program in general comes from Washington, D.C. and is an SBA program. So High Step originates with SBA, and we thank SBA for that funding. Mary is an SBA employee in Honolulu, and she is well versed on helping companies get those SBA loans for exporting and international expansion, and she can explain what all that is about. Mary's dialing in. Can you hear us, Mary?
Yep, hear you clearly, Rob. Thanks very much. I know we're on a time constraint here, so I want to get right to it. I really appreciate Rob for inviting me this morning to talk about some of the programs that hopefully you as small businesses will be able to take advantage of. And so SBA has several loan programs, but today we want to kind of focus on the 3 export loan programs that we have. And one is the International Trade Loan, then we have our Export Express program, and then we go into the Export Working Capital. So if we start with the International Trade program, it's kind of similar to our regular SBA programs, but it has a 90% guarantee. So that for the bank is going to be an enticement for them to be more willing to loan to small businesses like yourselves, because they're going to have less risk when they have a 90% guarantee. And that guarantee is up to loans up to $5 million. And you can use those for real estate, equipment, permanent working capital. Now, for the International Trade Loan Program, all these, anyone who wants to apply has to have an export business plan. So I know some of you may have a regular business plan, but this has to be dedicated solely to what you're going to do in the export market, so as far as the International Trade Loan Program goes. The other thing for our program, the Export Express. Now that one might be more beneficial for a lot of firms that are starting out or entering into the space to get started, or maybe they're using STEP right now. So the Export Express loan program is more kind of, it'll help you to get ready for those trade shows. Like Jamie mentioned, they have the e-commerce site. You can change your website into another language that you need it for. And once you start getting those sales, you know, this is going to be beneficial. We can use it for working capital. You can use it to set up a line of credit for when you're doing business overseas and maybe you need to purchase inventory, or you're going to be purchasing samples for those trade shows you're going to, or you want to attend a trade show, and what maybe STEP will not cover, the Export Express loan program could possibly cover that for you. So I think that one is more like I'm getting ready to be in the export market. I've been doing business already a year domestically, but now I've gotten an inquiry for overseas, and I've used the Gold Key service that John has offered. And when I found a distributor overseas, they were able to start getting these sales out there. And now to be able to do these sales, I need this export line of credit through Export Express in order to fulfill those sales. So that's probably a better program for that. we also have our export working capital program, and that is more targeted toward sales that are already in place. Say you have an invoice from Canada that say wants you to supply them coffee, and you need to have financing for that. So it's more targeted for, the actual invoice that you have at the time, or maybe you have a letter of credit. So these are when you want to look at the export working capital to take that into consideration. So unlike the Export Express, they do have a 90% guarantee, but that 90% guarantee is only up for loans up to $350,000, and then it drops at the $350,001. It becomes a 75% guarantee, which is still a pretty good guarantee for the banks. And the maximum on that amount of that loan has been increased from $350,000 up to $500,000. So that may be a really good program for you. And the term has a lot of different options for you. There's 10 years for equipment purchases or permanent working capital. And then if you wanted to use Export Express, may not be the best program, but you can use it for real estate if it's amortized over 25 years. So what it does, it gives you longer terms, which means your payments are going to be less since it's stretched out over that term. Because if you were to go to a bank today and said, oh, I want to get a loan for exporting, I need export working capital, they're probably maximum would give you like 3 years, as opposed to under SBA's guarantee for Export Express, you can get 10 years spread through that smaller monthly payments that are going to be affordable for you, or you can set up that line of credit for things that revolve. So if you want to do payroll you got to start hiring new employees because you want somebody to solely focus on the international market while you're still doing your domestic jobs, they might have to work different hours because obviously, depending on what country you're in, they're going to be different time zones. So when they hire those employees and be able to pay them, an export line of credit may be something you want to look at until you can make sure you get that employee paid from the sales that you're making. I think also that what you want to look at is if you're looking at export credit insurance, and I don't know if somebody's going to cover that from the Ex-Im Bank. And I know that with Jamie, when she mentioned for STEP, they also, through STEP, can cover some of the payments, I think, for that. But this is also going to be beneficial if you have Export Express loan to be able to have that credit insurance so you can offer terms for your buyers. So you might want to look at that as well. And they also are going to be able to tell you which countries that you're allowed to do business in. I think I'm heading into my 7 minutes, so I'm going to turn it back over to Rob. And if you guys have any questions for me, Rob has my contact information, and he can get that out to you. Thanks, Rob.
Great. Thank you so much, Mary. While you were speaking, I had up the SBA website under Export and Trade Assistance tab. And I could see where there's one area where attendees today could get a little bit confused because there's a search function for U.S. Export Assistance Centers, or the USIACs. Can you explain what is a USIAC and what is the difference between that and John Holman?
Sure. So John Holman is considered a USIAC here in Hawaii, which is the Export Assistance Center, but he's sort of a one-man shop here under the Commerce banner because he works directly for Commerce. But nationwide, a lot of times the USIAC, the Export Assistance Centers, are staffed with other organizations. So they may have Commerce there, they may have an SBA rep, and they may have someone also from Export-Import Bank. And they all work together jointly to offer their services on export, whether it be credit insurance, financing, or the export marketing programs through Commerce.
Okay, great. So just to summarize, if somebody was interested in pursuing an export loan through SBA or SBA supported loan, what's the first step for them? Do they contact you or do they contact their local bank?
Sure. The first thing, I mean, they can always call us. We're here locally. We're right across Restaurant Row a couple days a week. Mostly we're still teleworking, but they can always call us and we can go over in detail what they need. But they should approach their lender and find out if their lender does the export programs. And the majority of the banks here in Hawaii do have that authority to do those. But you also want to get in touch with, and Marty will be speaking soon, with our Small Business Development Center there on Hawaii Island, and they can help you put your export plan in place, because you want to have that before you work with the bank to say, okay, what are the funds going to be utilized for? How much do I need? And what countries am I targeting? So you probably want to start first with either SBA or your local SBDC there on Hawaii Island and get that plan in place, and then approach your lender who would be willing to look at that and possibly finance it.
Great. Do credit unions offer that, or is it just banks?
No, the credit unions can participate. If they are not currently approved for Export Express, they can always just call up the district office. We can go over for them what their requirements are and get them signed up.
Great. Okay, thanks so much, Mary. We really appreciate you joining us today. And before we move on, I wanted to point you towards this EXIM website at exim.gov that Mary had alluded to. I think this is a really great service that not enough of our Hawaii companies are utilizing, and it's really allows us to purchase very cheap credit insurance and allows our companies to give very favorable terms to customers, particularly useful with new customers who you're not really sure about and they're not very sure about you. But it allows you to, with the customer fills out an EXIM form and you process it with EXIM. It takes about a week or so to hear back from EXIM. However, my experience is that your customers can get easily $50,000 or $100,000 minimum guarantee, which allows you to buy credit insurance up to that amount. It's very cheap and again ensures that you will get paid, which I think is just a fantastic service. So I would highly encourage you to look into that a little bit more. If you're not sure how to start the process, let me know. But back here on our event archive for the Hawaii Pacific Export Council, we had this event here, Export Financing for Hawaii Companies, where we had SBA and EXIM providing details about that, and there's contact information for EXIM staff that are responsible for Hawaii in here. If you have any more detailed questions, you can certainly contact me. Okay, great. Let's next move to Yukashi Smith. Yukashi is with the Hawaii Department of Agriculture, and she is very active with exporting, and she can explain some of the Department of Agriculture's resources that are available to our exporters from Hawaii Island. So please, Yukashi.
Thank you, Rob. Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Yukashi Smith, Economic Development Specialist at the Hawaii Department of Agriculture. Our mission is to facilitate export opportunities for agriculture and food companies in the state of Hawaii, including Hawaii County. Our primary focus is organizing a Hawaii Pavilion at major trade shows and managing trade activities. With USATA, Western United States Agricultural Trade Association. Oh, now we can see the slide. Okay, thank you. We use different funding sources to run the export programs. The number one funding source is STEP grant, thanks to SBA and DBET. because this STEP grant is funded by SBA, and we are receiving this funding through DBED. We also use the HDOA's general fund, the state fund. Also, we have a USDA's market access program fund to conduct export assistance programs. Depending on our funding sources, eligible products to participate to our export programs vary. So please let us know if you have questions on your product eligibilities for certain programs. Let me talk about trade shows. As we are entering the post-COVID era, trade shows are back. I was very, very happy to going back to the trade show in person this May in Chicago to the National Restaurant Association show. So we had tens of thousands of attendees there. We have doing like samples and reconnect with the buyers. That was just such a good feeling, you know, better than virtual activities. So with the STEP grant, hoping we will get the STEP grant for 2023, HDOA is planning to organize a Hawaii pavilion at these 3 international trade shows: Gulf Food in February in Dubai, Foodex Japan in March, Tokyo, Japan, and International Food Ingredients and Additives Expo in May in Tokyo. So this year in February, Gulf Food Trade Show, HDOA had the first time Hawaii Pavilion at this show. And 2 Hawaii County companies bravely participated in this show. So one was the coffee company, and another one's the Hawaii Tropical Fruit Growers Association. So I think showing up is everything. So that was still like a COVID era, and you know, they were very courageous to go there and get connection. And we are hoping to go back to this Gulf Food show next year. So I mentioned about National Restaurants Association show, Chicago next May. We'll be back, and I'm hoping to have some Hawaii companies with us. And this year, 2022.
Yukashi, this is Rob. Quick question. That's an enormous show, right? It's huge. I mean, how many thousands of people do you think attend that show?
I think I don't have an official number, but I'm sure at least like 70 to 80,000 attendees.
So
because they are from Middle East and Europe, many countries from different areas.
Some people could ask us, why is a domestic trade show interesting for exporters? And that is because there are so many foreign buyers that attend these shows that it's like attending an international show. So
yes,
I would highly encourage you to try to attend
certain domestic trade shows are eligible to use those federal funding to support export. And then National Restaurant Association show is one of them, because they attract a lot of Canadian buyers, as well as usually Asian and Latin and South American. Those embassies, people bringing like hundreds of buyers, foreign buyers to the show. Not this year, only a little bit. I think, they didn't bring a big delegation as used to be, but this NRL show and the Global Produce Floral Show, they are both eligible to use the federal funding source to support export. Yes, and then this Orlando show, Global Produce Floral Show, it was formerly called PMA, Produce Marketing Association show. It's a little bit confusing, but HDOA has been in this show for the last 30 years, and it's a very good show. We have one booth available for any Hawaii companies. If you're interested in, the participation fee will be around $2,000 for 10 feet by 10 feet booth space with furniture. And eligible products will be, of course, fresh produce, fresh flowers, even value-added products. So let me know if you're interested in. Via HDOA booth application form can be online at that website, or just simply email to me. And let's move to USATA program. As one of the 13 member states for USATA, HDOA manages trade activities to connect with potential international buyers by conducting inbound trade missions, outbound trade missions, and international trade shows. USATA offers financial assistance program called Fund Match, which will reimburse up to 50% of your export marketing cost with some initial fees applied. You can register your company with usata.org that you can learn more about USATA programs. So those are the briefly what HDO can offer in terms of export assistance programs. If you have any questions, please contact me via email or phone. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yukashi-san. That was great. The Department of Agriculture does a wonderful job of supporting our exports from Hawaii. So if you have any questions, please contact Yukashi. And it looked like you have one booth available for the floral show.
Yes, that's going to be in Orlando, Florida, 3 months from now.
So if somebody wants that booth, they could just contact you?
Yes.
Great.
Please.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker, continuing on with the agriculture for a few minutes, is Glenn Sacco from Hawaii County. And then I'm going to come back to Mary Kennedy after Glenn. So Glenn, can you say a few words about what you're doing to support our exporters from the county level?
Sure. Thank you, Rob, for having me on board. I'm Glenn Sacco. I'm an Economic Development Specialist, Department of Research and Development, County of Hawaii. So with the Department of Research and Development's agricultural program, one of our objectives is to increase the consumption of local products at the local, national, and international levels. So we work with nonprofit organizations and support their promotional and marketing programs for export crops such as flowers, foliage, tropical fruits, namely papaya and avocado, and our name crops such as coffee. A couple of examples of this support is such as supporting the funding for a booth at the Philadelphia Flower Show. And this was through the Hawaii Tropical Flower Council. The Philadelphia show is a very big flower show. It attracts a lot of buyers, and it's an opportunity to showcase Hawaii's products. We also work with them, with the University of Hawaii, to develop new breeds, cultivars of flowers, so to continue to participate in this international market, which is very aggressive in the flower market. Then about 7 years ago, the USDA published a protocol to export Sharwo avocado to 32 northern tier states in the United States. And following this protocol would allow producers or the pack house to ship Sharwo avocado out to these states without radiating the fruit. And that was a big issue. So one of the main things is to have a certified pack house. And the Hawaii Avocado Association asked the Hawaii County for help on this. So what we did was we set up a small pack house certified by the USDA in a warehouse and ran it on a limited scale for about a season. And during this time, the growers received about $1.20 to $1.40 per pound for their avocado versus 80 cents per pound locally. There were comments by some of these growers that, it was worth it for them to go through the trouble of the protocol so that they could gain, 60 cents, almost a 100% return on this avocado. And the next year, what happened was that a private pack house was then set up, which had more capacity and was then working more closely with more growers. Therefore, the county closed up its demonstration pack house and, then basically let private industry take over, which is what we should be doing because we don't want to be involved in the export business. I mean, we were working with a nonprofit to do this program, but we understood that it was on a limited scale and was just for demonstration purposes. And we were able to achieve that. And now that program is continuing. So this is, just some of the few things how the county can, support their, we support our producers through their organizations. From time to time, I'll get individual inquiries about exporting a specialty crop that may not be on the USDA accepted list. And so what I'll do is then, listen to what they're trying to do and then direct them to the proper authorities to help them to get started. We try to, there's just me in the as the agricultural specialist. So I'm kind of like a jack of all trades. I try to help our local producers wade through regulations and permitting processes as much as possible, but try to also get them in touch with the proper authorities. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Glenn.
You're welcome.
Next up, I'd like to introduce Marty Kennedy from Hawaii SBDC. And let me share my screen again so we can have a quick look at the website of SBDC. And Marty, can you just, I think for many of our attendees, the SBDC is going to be their frontline contact to start this exporting process, or even just starting a business before they get into exporting. SBDC is such a valuable resource. Can you just explain what is SBDC, and then of course the Hawaii SBDC and what you do on Hawaii Island?
Okay.
Please.
Well, as you mentioned, we do help small businesses to start, grow. Our motto is start, grow, and thrive. So that's what we try to do. So we help businesses at the very beginning, in the middle, and even at the end with, when they're ready to sell or get out, we can help with that as well. I think one of the greatest benefits that we bring to the business world is we help to determine the sustainability of decision-making. So from starting to getting out to growth, we can take an objective look at your numbers and help them to determine for themselves based on their own information, their next steps. So especially when it comes to exporting, you want to make sure that they have capacity. I would think very first to handle the additional sales. So we're here to help with that. Our services are all at no cost. We also partner with the SBA and the University of Hawaii. So they help us with your tax dollars to be able to provide this service, as I mentioned, at no cost. We also offer classes. Rob, you've spoken at our classes before. We try to get a wide variety of experts come in and help our small businesses at the just with basic instruction information. So we support that as well and partner with many local of some of the people that are on here. So that's why we're here. We do,
Great.
I also want to mention real quickly, we do have a lot of, within our organization, we have a lot of people who are experts in a lot of different fields. So we all work together to bring, so if, for example, you work with me in West Hawaii and you're wanting to do something I'm not familiar with, I have a whole team of experts behind me that I can gain information from. So I don't think there is a business that we can't help. We need help getting the word out that we're here. So I so appreciate this opportunity to brag a little bit about the SBDC.
Great. And another great thing about your organization is that companies that come in for help, they don't spend a lot of money on your services.
No cost. Yeah. Our classes are $15, and that's primarily just to make sure that if you take a seat that you show up. Little skin in the game.
Right, right. Okay, can you explain the differences between the East and the West Hawaii Island offices?
So it's kind of in the name. So we cover the area from Hawaii, Waimea, all the way down to the South Point on the western side. And East Hawaii covers the area on the eastern shore. So all the way down to down south. Kind of down south gets a little, we give them the option which office they want to go with, but we're more, the difference is more territorial than services. The services are the same. No matter where you are in Hawaii, the services are the same. We're here to help.
Great. I'm just briefly going to bring up your slide so your contact information is here. You're on the west side, but for purposes of this meeting, if somebody contacts you from the east side, you can point them at who to contact. Right?
Yeah, and if you go to the hisbdc.org website, it'll actually have you, if you want services, that's where you start. So hisbdc.org. You can sign up for services, and you at that time will select which office you want to work with, mine or in East Hawaii.
Okay, and so I just clicked on locations, and here we are, Hilo or Kona.
Yep.
That's great. Okay, fantastic. A fantastic organization. I highly suggest, if you're not already engaged with SBDC, that you do get engaged with them immediately, no matter where your business is, whether you're just beginning or you're setting the world on fire. It's still great to have them as a tool in your toolbox, and they're all wonderful people with a lot of experience. And as Marty said, behind them, there's a lot of people that are backing them up. Okay, thanks again, Marty. That was wonderful. Our next presenter is Josh McClung from Hawaii Global Nursery Exporters. I love that he has exporters in the name of the company. Thank you for doing that. I wanted to have a success story speaker in this call, just so that our companies can see that exporting is possible, and people can be successful at it, and that you're not the first person to try exporting, that there are other people who have done it and they're doing it well, and they're using the resources that are available to them. So with that, Josh, can you just introduce yourself, explain a little bit about Hawaii Global Nursery Exporters and the types of products you're exporting and the markets you're exporting to, and then I'm sure some people will have some questions.
Hi, yeah. So our company, we're a nursery. We produce Dracaena trees, and we export them mainly to the mainland, which is, of course, not exporting, but and we also work with the Canadian market as well. I'm also on the board of HEFNA, which is the floriculture industry, and we have a a program where we're working directly with Canadian traders, and we have a grant to expand that. And actually being on this call has really opened my eyes to the possibilities of a really strategic alliance between our organization, which is, a lot of the really big floral producers on Hawaii Island, as well as Maui, Oahu, and all the other we're the neighbor island, but and our two programs, interestingly, really parallel with all the organizations that you've had on here, Rob, which is we're kind of the organization that could utilize all of these programs. And we also represent the farmers who could actually be the people taking advantage of all these incredible programs I just heard of right now for the first time that would benefit us directly. So I'm really excited, and hopefully we can actually maybe get these speakers on one of our meetings. And we also do a yearly presentation that maybe we could even get on the websites as well, where we have an event every year. It's last year was a wedding design. So we bring all the florists from all the islands and have them design beautiful arrangements and whatnot. And then that's to encourage them to export as well. Right now, focusing mainly on that Canadian market. So for our successes and challenges, really is what we have as a foliage company is really working with the departments in the different countries and the regulations they have around foliage, because it's very, very difficult. Even though we are Hawaii, even to Canada, they have special permits that we all have to get, and only certain growers get those types of permits to do that. And those challenges would be mitigated, I think, if there were more people doing the exporting to these different countries. Because of the challenges, there's limited number of foliage folks, exporting to other places than mainland America. So it'd be really great to see if we could all work together to help expand that out, and these organizations out here, exactly what we have as an organization have been looking for. So, and we're also looking into Japan, and we were focusing on that really heavy before the pandemic hit. So those two areas are where we're, as an organization, as HEFNA, where we would love to utilize all these different services. So I think I was more brought on here today to represent that than an individual grower, but if anybody does have any questions, that would be, my successes have been in Canada, and we're working on Japan. So that's where we're going.
I think the questions would be, certainly our companies, our smaller companies are very interested in how do you find distributors in these foreign markets, first of all? And are there trade shows that you attend that are specific, and are you able to take advantage of the trade shows? But let's start with distributors, first of all. How do you do that? I have your website up. I don't know if you can see it or not.
Yeah, that's just kind of a simple one that we put together. But as well as distributors go, for somebody like me who grows foliage plants, let's say the Canadian market, Canada is a much smaller market, as you may know. The population in Canada isn't even the same as Southern California. So, but it does have a huge desire for tropical plants. The trends are really big in Canada, in certain areas like Toronto and whatnot. So in order to find the distributor, we basically, you can start, you have to find the wholesalers, and you have to find who wants to import that. And I started with my smallest buyer, who was a contact that I had who bought from a wholesaler. So I worked up the chain. I went backwards to find their wholesaler. And then we were scheduled to go to Canada Blooms, which is a huge trade show that we had a booth at as HEFNA. And of course, the pandemic hit literally the week we were supposed to go to that event in Toronto. We're scheduled to go back as soon as we can, but Canada hasn't opened that back up yet. So that was going to be another way for us to find the wholesalers and make direct contact with all of them. And they were actually providing us with foliage plants at the events. So we had a great strategic alliance built up with our wholesalers in Canada, but of course, once that all hit, everything has really paused for us a lot with that market. So I think it's coming back, and I think we're going to be able to this year really push hard for that. And that's how we would find them, direct contact.
Great, great. I'm very glad to hear you bring up Canada, because people who have listened into our webinars in the past have heard me, I don't know if complain is the right word, but have certainly heard me voice my opinion that too many of our Hawaii companies try to attack the Japanese market first and foremost when they think about exporting, and they don't go to a air quote easier market like Canada or Mexico, where we have free trade agreements and what have you. So I'm really glad to hear that you sort of started your exporting foray into Canada, where you can learn some lessons about exporting before you attack a more complicated market such as Japan. And by complicated, I mean language, culture, time zones, currencies, and importation barriers. I think, as you said earlier, Josh, you're starting to look into Japan, and I think you will find that exporting to Japan, while can be lucrative and a wonderful experience, it is certainly more difficult to get into that market at first than it is to Canada. Anyway, okay, great. So we talked about distributors. You alluded a little bit to marketing. So can you talk about how you've been able to market your products? Are you working together with these distributors you found, or are you marketing directly to customers in Canada? How's that working? And then what do you think you're going to do for Japan?
Since we sell to the wholesale level, the marketing that we actually do is pretty limited because of the fact that, basically we send pictures of our product and they say great when it comes to tropical Hawaiian foliage and flowers, especially the flowers. The foliage and flowers are so desired that they really sell themselves. Hawaiian products are the most amazing tropical products in the world, period. And companies like Greenpoint and our company as well, we're just trying to push the envelope on the newer things that people want out there. So social media is definitely an aspect that we're focusing a lot of attention on as an organization. And our marketing committee has been looking into the Canadian market from that aspect. So kind of working our way once again back up the chain from the initial consumer desire and finding out what those let's use flowers as an example. So what florists see as trends, and then letting that drive what our production is. So really we're letting the marketing come from the demand from the, you can really find it on Instagram and Facebook and different social media sites. What out there is really being asked for. And so from a marketing standpoint, we're really utilizing that. And then we're using, as well as all our, just SEM, just any kind of search marketing strategies that we can come up with, and kind of, once again, back from the bottom up. And I think that's the best way to market our products anymore, because the demand has gone so high after the pandemic with these products that we really can't even grow as fast as we can, make them, produce them anymore. So the market is there, and the marketing is done by the people through social media now. We just have to tap into that.
That's a great point. That certainly this meeting wasn't intended to be agriculture focused, just have agriculture as part of our export portfolio from Hawaii Island or from Hawaii in general. However, Hawaii Island does have some excellent agricultural products, and so we certainly want to include our agricultural exporters in the conversation. However, what Josh is saying about let's encapsulate it into made with aloha, or just having the Hawaii-ness in your product and in your marketing, I think is extremely critical. And a lot of our companies don't do a very good job of baking into their marketing and their product design and packaging about the Hawaii-based aspects of their product, made with aloha, and the freshness, or it could be organic, or it could just be the colors and what have you. It's really a fantastic asset that our companies have to utilize in their marketing. I use in the courses I teach in international marketing, what have you. If you think about word association around the world with the words Hawaii, with the word aloha, the images that come to mind when somebody hears those words are sunshine and islands and freshwater and beaches and surfing and hiking and these types of things. Just fantastic images of peace and rest and relaxation. But there is a place in the world called Transylvania. And so there's people in Transylvania that need to export products. And when you hear the word made in Transylvania, what sort of comes to mind, right? It's not nearly the same as made in Hawaii and made with aloha. And I think our companies could really stand to double down on that aspect of the product and work on that. And I'm really glad to hear Josh mention that. Okay, Josh, very briefly, my sort of last question would be, do you have any lessons learned so far that you think you could save some of our attendees some time and energy and money that you've learned that you would do differently, or something you did correctly? Let's just focus on Canada, for example. What could our companies learn from you?
I think you really helped me today to learn that path that I would have taken, that I'm going to take actually, and start with these organizations that are out there and this information, because information on the front end is everything, right? I mean, the errors that you're going to make, somebody else already made them. So get out there, ask for the help. Go to Glenn, go to these guys at the university, wherever that their resources are available on the front end, because somebody already made the mistake that you're about to make, and if you get it on the front end, it's going to save you a bunch of money and a bunch of time. And you probably want to continue to do it, because like with Canada, the challenges with foliage are so much that a lot of people just don't want to deal with the hoops that need to be jumped through. But once you get them done, they're just the same hoops that you have to do to get to California. I mean, it's just different hoops, but somebody else has done it for you. So my advice would be, do what you've talked about today. Get involved with these organizations. See if you can write the export plan and get the help that they're talking about out there, so you don't make the errors in real life. Do them all theoretical on the front end, and then you're done. But you'll run into challenges, and those are going to.
Josh, I'm briefly losing your audio. Still can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
That's okay. Yeah, we can hear you now. Great.
Yeah, my son put his earbuds in. I love technology.
There you go.
Anyway, thank you for having me on today. This has been really great. I can't wait to bring this back to all of the folks at our organization at Hefna and Hannah.
Great. And if there's anything that the Hawaii Pacific Export Council can help you with, please let us know. Otherwise, certainly the people who are on the panel are also available to help. With that, I'd like to open it up very quickly to any Q&A. If anybody has any questions, please type them in. This video will be edited and up on the archive of the Hawaii Pacific Export Council in about a week, and I will circulate to the registrants the contact information for the panelists who were in the webinar today. So if you have any questions, you can follow up directly. I would encourage you again to go back to our YouTube archive and look for topics that are specific to you. Jamie Lum from DBET had mentioned the export plan, and we will be having an export plan writing workshop starting on August 11th. It's actually a 2-webinar workshop where we're going to work on helping companies develop a detailed export plan. So please look for that. Email and sign up, and I'll be happy to help companies write that export plan. Great. So with that, I'd like to say thank you to all of our speakers today. Jamie Lum from DBET, John Holman from the U.S. Commercial Service, Mary Dale of SBA, Marty Kennedy from Hawaii SBDC, Yukashi Smith from the Hawaii Department of Agriculture, Glenn Sacco from Hawaii County, and of course, Josh McClung from Hawaii Global Nursery Exporters. I greatly appreciate your time, and we thank you for your expertise. And with that, I'd like to say aloha, and we will see you in August at the Export Plan Writing Workshop. Thank you, everyone.
Aloha.
Aloha, everybody.
Bye.